You know that feeling when you check your bank account and instead of immediately closing the app in horror, you actually smile? Like when you stop calculating whether you can afford that coffee or if buying groceries means eating ramen for the rest of the week. There's a specific number where this shift happens, and it's not what most people think. Most financial gurus will tell you that you need $1 million to feel wealthy, or that 6 figures is the magic number. But here's the thing they're missing. There's a much smaller milestone that completely transforms your relationship with money. And once you hit it, everything changes. That number is $20,000. I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and why some people seem to effortlessly build wealth, while others stay stuck in the same financial patterns for decades. If you're someone who wants to understand the real mechanics behind wealth building, instead of just hoping things will magically improve, pay close attention. Now, before we dive into why $20,000 is the real game changer, let me ask you something. When you think about building wealth, what comes to mind? Maybe you picture some trust fund kid who never had to worry about money, or perhaps you imagine someone grinding away for years, slowly accumulating wealth, $1 at a time. The truth is, wealth building doesn't work the way most people think it does. Here's what actually happens. There are certain financial thresholds that act like invisible barriers. Once you cross them, the rules of the game completely change. $20,000 is the first major threshold that separates those who will build significant wealth from those who will spend their entire lives living paycheck to paycheck. And the crazy part is, most people have no idea this threshold even exists. Think about it this way. If you've ever tried to push a heavy boulder up a hill, you know that getting it started is the hardest part. You're straining, sweating, making very little progress, and questioning whether it's even possible. But once you build enough momentum, something magical happens. The boulder starts moving faster, and eventually when you reach the top, it rolls down the other side almost effortlessly. $20,000 is that turning point where your financial boulder finally crests the hill. Everything before this point feels like you're pushing uphill against gravity. Everything after this point feels like gravity is working in your favor. But here's where it gets really interesting. The difference isn't just mathematical. It's not simply that you have more money to invest or that your returns are larger in absolute terms. The real magic happens in your brain. When you don't have money saved, your brain operates in survival mode. Every financial decision is filtered through fear and scarcity. You take the first job offer that comes along, even if it's terrible, because you can't afford to be picky. You stay in situations you hate because leaving feels too risky. You say yes to things you don't want to do because you need the money. When you're in survival mode, your brain literally can't think about growth and opportunity. It's like trying to plan a vacation while your house is on fire. Your mental bandwidth is completely consumed by immediate threats and short-term survival. But something remarkable happens when you cross that $20,000 threshold. Suddenly, your brain has the space to think differently. Instead of asking, how do I survive until next paycheck? You start asking, how can I grow this money? Research shows that having just $2,000 in emergency savings increases your financial well-being by 21%. But when you push that emergency fund to 3 to 6 months of living expenses, which for most people lands somewhere around $20,000, you've now created enough breathing room for your brain to start thinking about wealth building instead of just wealth preservation. Here's where the math starts getting really exciting. Let's say you're saving $1,000 every month and earning an 8% return. Getting to your first $20,000 takes about 19 months. It's a year and a half of discipline and sacrifice. But your second $20,000 doesn't take another 19 months. It only takes about 17 months. Why? Because now you've got that first $20,000 working alongside your monthly contributions. By the time you're going for your third $20,000, the timeline shrinks even more. Your money is doing an increasing share of the heavy lifting. And when you get to the really big numbers, the acceleration becomes almost comical. Once you hit $400,000, you can generate your next $20,000 in just 5 months. The same amount that took you nearly 2 years to save initially is now happening automatically. The real secret is basic mathematics working in your favor. When you invest $1,000 and it grows 10%, you make $100. Apply that same 10% to $20,000 and suddenly you're looking at $2,000 in profit. Now we're talking about money that actually matters, money you didn't have to earn through your job.
But here's the part most people miss. When you save $20,000, you fundamentally rewired your brain and built the most important financial habit. It requires serious discipline to track every dollar and say no to things you wanted. You prove to yourself that you can control your money instead of letting it control you. This identity shift is huge. Before, you were sweating the small stuff like a $4 coffee. After hitting $20,000, you start seeing opportunities instead of just threats. Unexpected expenses like car repairs become minor inconveniences instead of catastrophic emergencies. You start noticing deals, investments, and career conferences that you couldn't take advantage of before. Having money gives you options, and options create more opportunities to make money. It also changes your relationship with work. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're trapped. But $20,000 is walking away money. You can negotiate from a position of strength because you aren't desperate. You become more confident and assertive, and often that leads to better assignments and more money. The biggest mistake people make is hitting $20,000 and immediately blowing it on a new car or a vacation. Don't do this. That $20,000 is the foundation of your entire financial future. The average person spends more on car payments and insurance over a lifetime than it would take to achieve financial independence. A $30,000 car isn't just $30,000. It's money that could have grown to over $200,000 in an investment account over 20 years. Once you have this foundation, you stop agonizing over micro decisions like the price of organic bananas and start focusing on big strategic choices, housing costs, maximizing income, and solid investment strategies. $20,000 isn't going to make you rich overnight, but it is the difference between reacting to life and designing it. Start building that foundation today.